What? Stop putting your head there. My nipple.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not social distancing.
I'm Lee.
We believe it's a conspiracy.
I'm Theos.
I'm Theos.
He's Lee. I'm Theos.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. We're the trauma guys, and last night was UFC Fight Night.
Cheerio. Yep.
On ESPN Plus. And if you don't have it,
I think it was on regular ESPN, wasn't it? No?
Yeah, I don't know.
ESPN. Dude.
I have it on.
ESPN, yeah.
All right. So, it was the main event was Dustin Poirier and Hooker.
That's right.
All right. And
Dan Hooker.
And before we get there, though, we're going to start out with the first part of the main card. Now, the prelims were really good. There were some really good fights on that one as well. All right. So we got Woodson versus Rosa. And now it was a third round Darce choke that happened. Now, it was a back and forth fight. Woodson was winning most of the fight. He was out boxing Rosa. He was out moving him. He was doing really good. In fact, in the third round, when he dropped Rosa, he hit him, dropped him. Rosa got back up and was getting in the mix, even though he was wobbling. Fighting, got him hooked up against the cage, pulled him down, and stuck him in a Darce choke till he tapped out in the third round.
It's awesome.
And he was losing the fight. He was losing the entire fight. He was getting out. He was getting the striking from Woodson was way better than Rosa even could stand up to. It was his stand up was way too good. And plus, he was a boxer before, and his boxing held up really well. Rosa just wanted it bad enough. He wasn't going to let him, even when he got knocked down, wasn't going to let him finish him. So he got back up, and he ended up finishing the other guy.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about some of these fights, but maybe you guys can comment on this too. Since they came out of quarantine, right, and they started doing the fights again, do they seem a little more violent than usual? Do they just seem like...
No, I think
I don't know if it's from being pinned up, or the guys are like, man, I really need this bonus. I'm coming after you.
Yeah,
you know, or because there's no crowd and we can just hear everything that's going on. Does that make it, making it, maybe a little bit all of it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think
fights have been phenomenal.
I think some of these guys are just getting out there and they just got some steam to blow off. Plus, they've probably been stuck at home with the wife for a while and they're like, I love my wife and kids, but damn.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have
to all you wives out there.
Fight number 2, Sato versus
I'm not apologizing
Jason Witt. And no, not Jason Witt from the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, even though he's just as ugly as Jason Witt from the Dallas Cowboys. Well, Sato beat him in 48 seconds of the first round in a TKO.
Nice.
He went for a shot. He blocked it, came down, and he just struck until they stopped the fight. So that was pretty quick, fast, and to the point fight.
Yeah.
Then we got Allen versus Dacus. And there was lots of knockdowns back and forth. Now, these guys were back and forth. Between the striking and the ground game, they would take each other down. They'd have somebody's back. All of a sudden, the guy would turn back into them. It was happening time and time again from the first round, the second round, the third round. It was all exact same fight. So, honestly, I thought this fight would have gone, more towards Dacus. I thought, me personally.
Yeah.
But it went towards Allen by decision. And it was really back and forth. I mean, there was a lot of good striking, but also good takedowns, good defense, good block. These guys were bleeding, but at the same time, they were switching and rolling and reversing and taking this guy's back and taking that guy's back, then bounce and getting out of them. It was just constant melee.
And those are the cool fights, man, that you really want to see. It really goes to show how much the overall sport has grown, because a lot of these guys are you still have your guys that are specialists, and they know the other stuff, but then you got the guys that are like that who can really do it all.
Yeah.
Those guys are really fun to watch, especially when they're pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, and this was a perfect even match. I could even said it could have been a draw, honestly. As good as they both were on not just the stand-up, but on the ground, and how well they were working back and forth. I mean, it was just constant. You think, this guy's got it. Nope, that guy's got it. Nope, that guy's got it. It was just like that or one guy would be controlling for quite some time in one of the rounds, and all of a sudden the other guy's in control now, and you're like, well, where did this come from? But that's what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And those are the fights you want to see because, yeah, the knockouts are great.
True puzzle solving. Yeah.
But
it's more fun to watch sometimes, I think. I enjoy it.
I think not just that, but when you train fighters and you fought before, or you're working with students who want to fight and get to that next level, it also makes you think about where things have come to and what you need to do.
Yeah.
As a coach, that's one of those things I look at, and I look at these guys and I'm like, those things make sense because when you're working with people, you need to tell them they got to be able to work that puzzle and figure out, okay, this piece doesn't fit. This guy's got me. Oh, now I figured it out. Now I'm back into the chess match. And you see how I did that? I did puzzles and chess matches.
Puzzles and chess matches. That's right.
All right. Yeah, I put notes down. That's what I do. It helps me out. Now, now we go to,
especially after that chocolate.
Oh, yeah, that chocolate killed us today, guys. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
So the fourth match of the night is Volante versus Greene.
Oh man, Volante and Greene was a good fight. So when you look at when these two guys match up and you look at them, Volante doesn't look like he's going to have a chance.
No.
The guy's short, he's stocky. Greene's tall, he's long, he's a big guy. But the fight was really evenly matched.
Yes.
Then getting towards it, you notice that Volante is starting to kind of pick up momentum. He's starting to catch Greene a little bit more. You know, he's taking some of those kicks, but he's giving it right back. Because it was the reach he was dealing with in the beginning. Then he starts catching him a little bit. Well, they go back and forth there for the first and second round. Then the third round comes around, and he gets the better of Maurice Greene. Maurice Greene hits the ground, and so Volante decides, well, hey, let me jump in here, and let me just start pounding the crap out of Maurice Greene. And he does.
Yes, he does.
He gets on top of him. He's basically, half guard?
Yeah, he's half guard.
He was in the mount for a minute or so. He was just pounding. I mean, I think any other ref might have stopped that fight. Because I think Maurice Greene's head bounced off the ground a couple of times from a few of those elbows, man. And he was just hitting them and pounding on him and hitting them. Finally, there's a situation where Maurice Greene's in half guard, and it's not like a lockdown half guard. It's like, I'm basically calling it a half guard because, his legs are open, and Volante's got one leg out and one leg in.
Yeah, well, Volante is pushing down on his neck and got his elbow in his throat, and he thinks I'm pushing. But what Maurice Greene keeps doing is he's elongating himself because he's longer. Yeah. So even though he's doing it, he's pushing him away. He's pushing him away with his length to try to get, even though he had him in kind of a weak half guard.
Yeah, I mean, props to Volante. He's just trying to finish the fight. He's not really focused on if he's in half guard or not because he doesn't really need to. He's got the upper hand right now. He's pounding Maurice Smith's face in with whatever he can, punches, elbows, whatever he can drop. Well, Maurice Smith starts trying to slip the arm away, right? Because he's got his arm right here. Mm-hmm. Volante's hand's right here. So Maurice Smith starts trying to push it this way. He's pushing it this way. And Volante catches it once or twice. And then finally, Maurice Smith, and I don't know if he thought there was going to be something there, or if he just thought, well, maybe if I can just lock him up for a second, I can get him to stop hitting me and relax for 20, 30 seconds while I figure out how I'm going to get back up. Locks him up in what I would call an arm triangle. From the bottom. Locks him up from an arm triangle. And, those of you guys out there, jiu-jitsu guys, you can do that, right? You can get in the guard, and, right? It's a basic one you learn, way back when you're a beginner. You're in the guard, right? You break them down, you posture them in, you kick the arm over, and you're here, right? Well, he kind of did that, but Volante was on top of him, still trying to hit him, so he gets him across, he pulls him in, and he cinches it, and he locks him up, right? Now, if you look at Volante's legs, maybe he could have tripoded up. Maybe he could have just stepped out and gotten in, towards where side control was, and it wouldn't have been as tight. But Maurice Greene just starts squeezing. And next thing you know, man, Volante's done. and the commentators couldn't figure out why he tapped.
No.
They couldn't figure out why he tapped. Bisping's calling it Ezekiel. Dominic Cruz just seems like he's confused, but from where I can see it, and he caught it first, it was an arm triangle.
It was an arm triangle.
It was just an arm triangle from the bottom.
And it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But I think what it was one, he was tired.
Yeah.
And two, once he locked it in tight enough, he was so tired he couldn't do anything
and
else.
Murray Smith, man, he's got huge arms, right? So imagine
Greene.
Sorry, Greene. Maurice Greene.
Maurice Smith been around anymore.
I'm old school, baby. I'm old school. Maurice Greene's got huge arms, right? So imagine that. That guy's squeezing you and he's squeezing you down, okay? So not only are you getting cut off here, but you're also getting smothered, and I mean, you did the right thing. Maybe he felt like he was going out and he tapped, props to that guy. Way to pull it out, Maurice Greene. I thought it was a very creative finish.
Yes.
I thought it was a very creative finish, and I enjoyed every bit. It was a great fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight.
Great fight.
Honestly, I like those finishes that people don't expect. Now, it happened.
It was sneaky.
Like 3 or 4 times during the night where somebody would beat somebody with something, and they were losing the fight.
Yeah.
And they beat them from something that they shouldn't have. They should have lost the fight in the second round or so, but they didn't. They finished this person. So that's what makes MMA a lot different than when it comes to like boxing. A lot of times when a guy's been knocked down in boxing, you rarely, and I'm not dissing boxing, you rarely see the man come back in the last couple of rounds to win. Most of the time it's not a Rocky fight. That rarely ever happens.
Yeah.
He's getting slaughtered through the fight. He's getting slaughtered through the rest of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, there's been a couple of times where you see a comeback in boxing, but it's not because there's only one way to win.
Yes.
Right, in a boxing match, right? It's 2 hands and 2 hands, right? But and again, not just in boxing. I mean, it is, for what they do, it's what they do, right? But in MMA, right, you could be losing, right? You could be on the ground, you could be getting smashed, and all of a sudden just find a small opening, right, to choke somebody, to latch onto an arm, to manipulate something to where it's either going to get you into a better position or make the other guy quit. And that's what Maurice Greene did in this situation. It was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it.
Now we're going on to Mickey Gall and Mike Perry. Now, this was not just an interesting fight in the fact that Mickey Gall has finished a lot of guys who were supposed to be these up-and-coming stars, and he's demolished them.
Yeah.
And not including CM Punk, because CM Punk was an up-and-coming star. But Mike Perry came out, and Mike's known as Mike Platinum Perry. He doesn't have a corner guy. He has one of the cutmen that he hired and his girlfriend. And
Did he have a cutman?
The cutman had to come in and help him.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even see the cutman. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, Mike Perry, man, and Mike Perry's a tough guy, man, and he's got some skills and stuff like that. I love watching him fight because he always brings it, man. That guy's always going to bring it. He's a little out there, but that's all right, man. The guy comes to fight, and everybody's got to be, you have to be a little bit. Yeah, sorry, but to want to get in there and throw hands with somebody like that, I mean, you have to be a little bit. But Mike Perry, leading up to it, I was listening to interviews all week, and he's telling people, I don't need a corner man. You're not in there. I've done the work. Most of the time you're telling me stuff I'm already doing anyway. Little things like that. And I'm not showing up with anybody but my girlfriend for me in the corner, and she's just gonna sit there, chill. She's gonna enjoy the show, and then afterwards we're gonna go have a good time. Well, Platinum Mike Perry lived up to everything he said.
He did.
He did.
Not only was he striking well, but when it comes to pinning Mickey Gall up against the cage and taking him off, he tossed him around.
He out wrestled him and everything. I mean, it was good, man. Mike Perry kept pressing the action forward. Mickey Gall did try to hold him off and did land some good shots and things of that nature. But, he just couldn't mount enough offense to stop Mike Perry. And, Mike Perry put an overall, a pretty one-sided decision on the whole thing, I would think. I don't think it was, close by any means. I think, obviously Mike got hit, but it wasn't,
That was nothing.
It wasn't like that.
Nah, he was cut a little over his eyebrow, but it never bothered him. He never really showed any disdain. And even when he went
that guy, man.
to sit, even in between each round, when he sat down on the stool, he didn't look tired.
Yeah, he looked like he was in great shape.
Yeah.
So, for everybody out there that's saying, oh, what's Mike Perry doing, man? He's showing up without a corner and stuff like that. Just because he showed up without a corner, it doesn't mean he hadn't been training, right? Yeah. Don't mix the two up, right? Because all he did was just say, I don't want anybody to come and sit in my corner. He didn't tell anybody, hey, he wasn't sitting around doing nothing for 3-4 months and just said, hey, I'll fight, right? He trained. You could tell he'd been training. He was in great shape, Hey, props to Mike Perry, man. He did everything he said he was going to do, and fought a really good fight.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're on to the main event. Dustin Poirier and Hooker.
Buddy, this fight will make you want to forget about any other fight.
And basically he did. He almost forgot about most of the fight.
Oh, my God. Dude. So I knew going into this fight, right? When I saw the headline, Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker, I was like, there's nothing else this fight can be but just absolute pandemonium. Like, it can't be anything else, right? To quote a song I'm really fond of, chaos and earthquakes. I mean, that's all it could have been, right? That's all it could have been. But also, I'd seen Dan Hooker fight, and he fought, who did he fight last time? Felder. He fought Felder, and they had just a knockdown, just a good fight. I was like, it's going to be similar to that. Man, within the first, 30 seconds of the round, they were both bleeding. Man, dude, this fight was ridiculous. If you haven't seen this fight, and you don't watch any other fight on this card, you need to watch this fight.
And not just about this fight, but you can't really explain everything that was happening in this fight with an explanation for round. We couldn't do it if we tried. There's not, because every time you think somebody was getting an upper hand, somebody else got the upper hand.
It was crazy.
It was a constant one-up. And even when they tried to do takedowns or go to the ground, it got
one would hit the switch and go to the other way.
And it would go right back up to the feet again and pounding. And
it was nuts. At one point, he had Poirier on his back, and Poirier throwing elbows in him, still chopping him up, throwing elbows, had him in an arm bar, switched it to a normal plot. He got up. They were fighting inside the pocket. Was ridiculous, man. What they were doing inside, Hooker would have him up against the fence. He'd be hitting him. Next thing you know, they'd separate, and Poirier would just lay like 3 or 4 on him, back him up. Dude, it was such a crazy fight. There's blood everywhere. It was such a crazy fight, up, down, wherever the fight went. They never stopped moving. They never stopped trying to finish one another.
And if you watch over in the corner on ESPN, they always have where it shows what the fighters are saying, and people. Evander Holyfield was like, "That's the most amazing fight I've ever seen." He said, "Is anybody else watching this fight?"
Yeah, it was crazy. It's every fight, all the fighters on the turret were just. It was like they couldn't believe what they were watching, and I couldn't believe what I was watching either. I couldn't believe they kept that up for 5 rounds. They kept that up. Kicks, punches, elbows, the inside work, the grappling, everything that they did, man, it was constant. And then finally, going into the 5th round, it was that close, and Dustin Poirier put the seal on it.
Yeah, it was
by getting the better of him, and just really getting on top of him and really just beating him down. Obviously, he didn't finish him, but that stamped it. That stamped that. Hey, this is mine. This is mine. And it was crazy. And if you look to see who was worse for the wear, obviously they were both pretty bad, I would say. But I would say at the end of the day, Dan Hooker took.
Yeah,
he caught the worst part of that deal, man.
So we also want to give a shout out to Dustin Poirier for a lot of the stuff that he does for his community.
Fight Foundation.
Yeah, the Good Fight Foundation.
That's awesome, man.
So he does backpacks for kids, lunches for kids in those areas. He helped get clean water for an area in Africa and in India. He's got a lot of things going on with his foundation. We'll put it down in the link below. The Good Fight. He also received the Forrest Griffin charity award for that night because of all the good work he does. See, Forrest Griffin has been doing lots of charity stuff that a lot of people don't know about for a long period of time. Even for law enforcement, I know a lot of people are like, oh, whatever. You can say whatever. Forrest Griffin used to be a police officer. He does a lot for those. He does a lot for his community and things like that. And these guys aren't just fighters. They're showing that they're good people and they're giving back to their community.
Yeah.
So if there's anything you want to...
Dustin Poirier is a great example of that.
Yeah, he's a great example of that. He's a nice guy. And you know, not just did he show great sportsmanship at the end of this, they stood up and hugged each other. They were very cordial to one another. It was a great fight. But he is a good person, and he's showing that by taking his thing and doing something good.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of what we see right now, and I'm not trying to get Mr. Preachy, and you can say what you want about me right now, but these guys are doing it, and they're not getting up in your face and telling you how great they are and what you should do. They're doing it themselves first. And that's what a truly good person does, and a good Samaritan, and a good person in their sport. They do it first, and they don't have to tell you how great they are and how good they are. They're doing it by leading by example. And that's all it is. So he led by example, and he's done a great thing.
Yeah. Poirier's a true champion, man. He's a good, you know, love to watch him fight, and he's a champion in and outside. Yeah, so you know, for sure.
So we are the Trauma Guys. I'm Lee.
Fayaz.
Hit that like button.
Watch that fight.
Watch that fight.
Jesus Christ, watch that fight.
And you know, if it's something you like or something you want to know more about, hit us up down below. If you don't agree with what we had to say, that's fine.
Don't eat that chocolate.
Yeah, don't eat that chocolate.
Don't eat it.
And also, don't drink that Kool-Aid.
Don't drink that Kool-Aid.
Believe in yourself and enjoy what you're doing.
That's right.
Until next time, we are the Trauma Guys.
I'm Lee.
I'm Fayaz.
I'm out.
Later.